What's good, Ravens fans? It's your boy JG. Welcome back. We're going to talk about offensive coordinators today. First, though, shout out to my grandma. She got me this Ravens suit jacket, so I said I was going to wear it. So, a couple things we want to talk about, guys. As we all know, Greg Roman is out of here. He's gone. He's in the wind. So, that leads a question of who are the Ravens going to get for offensive coordinator? Another question that we have to answer first is what is the offense going to look like? John Harbaugh did answer that question in his press conference with Eric DeCosta, basically saying that the identity is going to be the same. They're going to try to punish teams with the run, be different than all the other teams in the NFL, but hopefully be able to be better at the wide receiver position in the passing game. So, with that said, first I want to talk about three things that I think the Ravens have to be looking to address. Three things the Ravens have to be looking for in an offensive coordinator, right? And the first thing is there has to be someone who can work with quarterbacks at an expert level. One of the things about Greg Roman is that he didn't care about the player as much as he cared about the scheme, right? Greg Roman cared about the beautiful running schemes and not about the talent that he had at different positions. Perfect example, right, is that Lamar Jackson can do more than just run the ball, guys. He's definitely as talented as a player as someone like, for example, Jalen Hurts. So, what do you do with that? You have to get an offense that develops the running ability of Lamar Jackson, but also the passing ability of Lamar Jackson. And the only time Greg Roman really leaned into the passing ability is when both of the running backs were injured and hurt. When they came back, he went back to his old ways, which really didn't help Lamar Jackson's growth or the offense's growth as a whole. So that's the first thing. You want to kind of focus on Lamar Jackson and everything he brings to the table, not just one aspect of his team. The next thing you want to focus on is you still want the running game to be great, right? You still want a running game that is punishing. You still want a running game that is able to wear teams down, right? You don't want to get rid of the running game completely and become a team like the Buffalo Bills. You don't want to do that. You don't want to get rid of the running game completely and be like the Chiefs were a couple of years ago. You want to still have that hard, tough-nosed running similar to the San Francisco 49ers, right? And then remember that when we go down some of the candidates that I've been seeing. Now, another thing, and probably the last thing you want to do in terms of being an offensive coordinator, is you want to be able to run passing concepts. That maybe it's the third thing I mentioned, but it could be the biggest thing, right? Again, there's one thing to have basic pass plays and then have a great quarterback making it all work, right? For example, we've seen quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers say the same thing. He says, hey, the passing is basic. I'm just so good that I'm making it look awesome. And we don't have players like Devontae Adams. It doesn't look awesome anymore because we're not doing it better than 99% of the league, right? So that's something that we don't want. We want a team that has great passing concepts that work regardless of the quarterback that's in there, not based solely on the talent of the players, right? Because, for example, we know that there's a good chance that there will be injuries next year because the last 2 to 3 years, there's been injuries everywhere. So we can't go into a game of football, and that's the mistake that Eric DeCosta made this year. He went into football thinking to himself, oh, my injury-prone receivers won't get injured. And what happened? You know, Bateman, who's been injured every single year he's been in the NFL, even though it's only been 2 years, but he still was injured every single year. He got injured, right? Duvernay's young. That I don't think that's something that we can say will happen in the future, but he got injured. When your best players get injured, this is what happens. This is exactly what happens. So those are the three things I think the Ravens, when they're looking, for offensive coordinator, should be looking for. One, Lamar Jackson, work well with Lamar and use all of his skills, not just a little bit. Two, still keep that running focus. Again, I'm fine if you become a pass first team more and then have a run mentality. I'm 100% cool with that. But don't lose it 100%. Make it like a 60-40 instead of like an 80-20. Lastly, you want to be able to work with players regardless of their skill level and the passing concepts. We can do that already in the run, and Greg Roman's a big part of that, right? Again, running backs like Ken Drake was doing really well, even though they're not the same level of talent as J.K. Dobbins. But in the passing game, when the passing talent, the receiving talent left, there's nothing we can do. When Lamar Jackson left the game, there was nothing we can do. And we've seen a team like the Chiefs, for example, when Patrick Mahomes went out for that one drive in the playoffs against the Jacksonville Jaguars, they drove 90 yards and scored against a team in the playoffs. That is something that's amazing, and something that if we can get even a little bit of that, would make us a much, much better team. So, with that all being said, I want to go into some of the candidates that I'm hearing about and give you my quick opinion on them. Again, I haven't dived into the game tape for every single candidate, right? I've watched the games that you guys have watched. I've been doing things like that, right? Again, I haven't watched every San Francisco 49er game. I've watched the primetime games and I've watched the playoff games, right? Which are technically also primetime. All right. So, the first person they have here is Brian Johnson, the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback coach. I like it. I don't know. Again, what his philosophy is because he's coached, for two different types of orgs. One was the Eagles, which they have a very similar game to the game that we currently have. And then the other was the Cowboys, which, though Dak Prescott is mobile, their game is nothing like the Eagles game when you break down X's and O's, right? So what is it going to be like with Lamar Jackson? The good thing about him, though, that Brian Johnson has is that he has coached two great quarterbacks right now. And I would say that these quarterbacks matured, right? These quarterbacks didn't come in great. And that's the difference, right? How valuable is Patrick Mahomes' quarterback coach? Patrick Mahomes was great as soon as he stepped on the field, right? And we know the power and ability of Andy Reid. But Dak Prescott was one thing, and he's now a much better quarterback than he was when he started. Jalen Hurts was one thing, and now he's a much better quarterback than when he started. So I like that just idea of the progression. But it'll be his first time as a coordinator. He's a quarterback's coach. So that's interesting. I do like the thought, though, of Brian Johnson, the Eagles quarterback coach. Todd Monken, Georgia offensive coordinator. I don't like it. I don't like people who are coming from one game, college football, to the NFL and being their first stint, right? He's been great, but the college game is so shallow compared to the NFL game. In the NFL playbook, you have hundreds of plays, right? In the college playbook, you just do not, right? There's restrictions on time you can coach them, but also because of how wide the field is, the hash is, the field is the same, length, but the hashes are different. So the game is more open, right? This is why you see, for example, college games, scores every single week are like 60-40, right? It's just crazy. So I don't like it. I don't want that to be our first time doing that. If he gets into the league, he'll be successful for somebody else, but I don't like that to be ours and how we do it. Again, we need to win Super Bowls, and to have a coach come in as offensive coordinator. Again, even the one we currently have in defense coordinator, Mike McDonald. Again, he was with the Ravens before, which is a little different than not being with the Ravens and coming over. So I don't like that one. I'm gonna knock him off my list. Frank Reich, I like it. I like Frank Reich. Again, a lot of people have said that his schemes aren't as great as you would think, but he was instrumental in the Philadelphia Eagles, Carson Wentz's growth when he was good, and then with them winning the Super Bowl. So you have to give some kind of credit for that. I like the idea. He knows how the NFL works. He's one of them coaches that are going to go all in. This is his second chance. If he wants to be a head coach again, he has to get it right here. And I would trade that off. A Super Bowl for a head coach, you'll leave us after 2 years after we win a Super Bowl. Cool. I understand, right? A Super Bowl is the most important thing. I like it. Frank Reich has proven he can work with quarterbacks as a coordinator, and I think it would be a great choice, to be honest. And again, there's a lot of good choices on here that I think. So one here is Bobby Slowick, who is the 49ers passing game coordinator. Yes. And honestly, if I had to choose, he would be my number one choice. I love how the San Francisco 49ers play football. Um, the truth is that anything Kyle Shanahan touches turns to gold. And we I don't want to say this, but he has one of the more successful coaching trees already, which is wild to think of, right? Again, you definitely have the best coaching tree to ever coach, which is Andy Reid. His coaching tree is great. Belichick's coaching tree sucks. But when you look at Kyle Shanahan's coaching tree, you got him, Sean McVay, in Green Bay. I forgot their Matt LaFleur. Again, they having great seasons. They had a down season this year, but they've been having great seasons. The Vikings, their head coach came from there. They were a great team. They were disappointing the playoff game, but they have been a great team. It's just so many. There's so many great ones. Great talented coaches. Let's get him in here and let's see what he can do in this role. Now again, John Harbaugh might be a little scared now because those Shanahan boys, that coaching tree, they figure out how to become head coaches quick. I don't know what it is, but they all young and they all figure it out and they do a good job. So, John don't want to be looking over his shoulder. But I mean, that's just a great choice, I think. And the fact that he's been a quarterback coach for all the different types of quarterbacks and have given the San Francisco 49ers a chance every week, I think that's actually how the Ravens want to build their team. And I think that would be a great choice. So that's my number one. Joe Brady, Buffalo Bills quarterbacks coach. I don't think I like that. I don't think I like it, to be honest, because it's just been not enough time. I don't believe he was the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. He's only been the quarterbacks coach for a couple of years. On top of that, when we talk about the Bills, how much of it is him versus Brian Dabo, who is now in the Giants, and the Giants haven't had a great season, right? So I don't know. I don't like it. I'm gonna stay away from Joe Brady, to be honest. And I'm just running down, guys, what I see here. There's a lot of different ones, so I'm not gonna run down them all, but let's keep on going here. And you guys let me know in the comments below who you agree with, who should get a chance here. So next one here is Thomas Brown, LA Rams tight ends coach and assistant head coach. No. The LA Rams, even though we know Sean McVay is great, they out-talent teams, right? Strictly out-talent teams, right? I don't know if, again, when you strictly out-talent a team, then we have to consider who's more responsible for that. Is it the coaching or the GM? And for LA, when the talent wasn't there, we saw what happened to that team. They were the worst team in football, and I don't need that. You can't be the worst team in football ever and think you can get a job with my team. Byron Leftwich, Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive coordinator. Yes and no. So I'm in the middle on Byron Leftwich. Yes, because I think he will work great with Lamar Jackson. I think that, again, it matters that you played in the league. It matters that you're a black quarterback. It matters. All that matters. It really does. It really does. All that matters. However, what also does matter as well is how bad the offense looked this year in Tampa Bay. And again, when they look great, they didn't look great because of scheming. They look great because of talent. And you can say that for any team, but I'll tell you this, Brian Dabo, and I'm going to use him as an example. Brian Dabo, who came from the Buffalo Bills to the Giants, won 9 games and made the playoffs. Last year, the team had a top 5 draft pick. And the team didn't change that much. And the reason that happened was because of scheme, was because of the playing the game the right way, right? You can say whatever you want to say about Mike Tomlin. You can say anything you want to say about him. The man's never had a losing season, regardless of the talent level. That's those are the type of coaches that you want to have in your organization. Coaches that give you the best chance with their scheme and not just with the talent that you have on the field. So, And then last, they have here is Matt Nagy. I would stay away from Matt Nagy as well. He's with the Chiefs. How much of it is you? How much is Patrick Mahomes? How much of it is um, Andy Reid? When you had the team of the Bears, you couldn't even make Justin Fields look good, and Justin Fields looked great this last season. So what is it? What are we doing there? So again, guys, my number one choice currently, right now, will be Bobby Slowick. If you go through the process and you really think he has a chance, I think you want to either get someone who you trust. That would be, in my opinion, someone like a Frank Reich, um, someone like that, or you want to get a player, or not a player, sorry, a coach that is on his way up. And that's what we did with Mike McDonald, which again did help us the end of the season. It took him some time to get his feet wet, but once he got there, he was good in these last couple of games. And even though I do a little bit miss the blitzing that we used to do, you can't argue with the results of playing over the top, not allowing big plays. And if we had Lamar Jackson, that's the perfect recipe to win games. So, you guys let me know again. A lot of good choices. Not to forget that we have some choices on our own team, but that's not going to happen. Tight ends coach George Godsey for the Ravens, not going to happen. Don't, in our league today, tight ends coaches, I don't know if you want to make them offensive coordinators. Wide receiver coach T. Martin, maybe he hasn't had a real chance, which sucks. But you can't get the job as an offensive coordinator as a wide receivers coach when we have the worst wide receivers in the league. You can't get it on my team, or maybe on someone else's team, not on my team. You can't do that. And then coaches, quarterback coach James Urban. Again, how much is you and how much is just how good Lamar Jackson is? Because when Lamar Jackson wasn't in, we only scored one touchdown in a game more than once, and that was in the playoffs, and it was a busted coverage. So, yeah. So what can you say? You guys let me know in the comments below what you think. Thanks, and go Ravens.